Hey, this is James with the Board Game Network again. We're going to be talking about Pandemic. It's a cooperative game put out by Z-Man Games, designed by Matt Leacock. It's won several awards, and it's got this right here on the box that says, "Can you save humanity?" The goal of this game is, as scientists, you are working together to cure 4 diseases that are spreading around the world. And so this map board is a board of the world with different cities on it and 4 diseases that are being spread. This game plays 2 to 4 players. It's 45 minutes approximately, maybe an hour, but you can lose this game very fast. I've lost this game in 5 or 10 minutes. It's a family style game. It says it plays for 13 years and up, but I would say with it being cooperative, you could go down younger than that with your children to play this game. To start playing this game, you look at all the stuff we have. We've got markers for each player and cubes and cards and all kinds of stuff here. Here's the rule booklet. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these cards. They have an X on the back or a cross here. And you'll notice these different colors. We've got red, blue, yellow, and black. Those are the colors of the 4 diseases. There are 12 of each card color, and they correspond with 1 city on the map board. There's 4 of each color city on the map, so there's 48 different cities that can be infected. So 1 of each city, so no city is worth more than any other city. You're going to shuffle these. This is called the player deck. You are then going to take the event cards. There are 5 events in the basic game here. There are several expansions for this game. It shows how popular this game is because other people have wanted other expansions, other ways of playing this game. You're just going to mix these event cards in and shuffle those in. Event cards I'll talk about a little bit later, but they add a little bit of twist and a little bit of difference to this game. So you're going to shuffle this player deck. And let's say we've got 3 players. Now to deal out these cards, these player cards, based on the number of players, you deal out a different number of cards. So for 4 players, you deal out 2 cards. For 3 players, 3 cards. For 2 players, 4 cards. So the fewer players, the more cards. Let's just say we're playing a 3-person game, so we'll deal out 3 cards a piece. Okay, now that we've done that, we are going to take epidemic cards. You'll notice there are 6 of these green cards. They're all identical. The game suggests that at the beginning you only play with 4 of these instead of 6. So we're going to start you with 4, but once you get familiar with the game, have played it a couple of times, you'll want to go up to 6. And all you're going to do is split the rest of this deck into approximately 4ths. So once you put 6 in there, 6 epidemic cards in there, you are going to split this into 6. Put 1 epidemic card on each stack. You're going to mix it around a little bit, mix each stack around, rebuild your deck. And the point of this is so that you don't have all your epidemic cards at the bottom or all at the top or all mixed together, and you won't get them in your opening hand either. So you've got them fairly evenly spread out throughout this player deck. So there are, remember, 12 of each color, 48 cards in here, plus the epidemic cards you put in. Then we are going to take this round green marker. We are going to put that on the infection rate track up here. It's got a 2 underneath it. We are going to take this semi-squarish cube that's green, and we're going to put that on the outbreaks track here on the 0. We are going to take a research station. We're going to put in it in Atlanta. we are going to take these cards. These are the infection deck, and they have a green back to them, and they once again have one card for every city on the board. So there's 12 blacks, 12 blues, 12 reds, and 12 yellows. You're going to shuffle those. So take a quick shuffle here. Just mix them around a little bit, and then we're going to throw those on the infection deck. Spot on the board. There are 4 of these vials, that one for each color, and they correspond with the cubes. They correspond with the color of the card decks, and you'll notice on the backs of them they have a circle with a slash through it to show not something. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So these go on the corresponding spot on the board, on the lower part of where there's a spot that looks like a vial. Okay, so, I don't know what I'm doing here. So I put these cards back in. I thought they were left out, but they're not. These were the cards I dealt out. So you're gonna, also there are 7 roll cards here. These roll cards each have a different ability. I'll talk a little bit later about those. You're just going to mix them up and hand them out randomly. 1, 1, 1. So we've got the medic, we have the researcher, and we have the dispatcher. Okay, so those are the 3 players we've got playing. And one last thing, we want to put the corresponding color marker in Atlanta with the research station for the different colored roles, the different colored people that are playing. So we've got purple and a brownish and a orange or red color. So that's that. And then one last thing is we need to create some infections of the viruses around the board to start with. So we're going to flip up 3 cards on the infection deck. We've got Delhi, which is black on the card. So we know to look in the black area for Delhi. There it is right there. You're going to put 3 cubes on that one. Algiers is also black. We are going to put 3 cubes in Algiers. And New York is blue, so we're going to take 3 blue cubes and put that in New York. So 3 cards get 3 cubes each. We're going to draw 3 more cards, and we're going to put 2 cubes each in those 3 cards. So Milan gets 2, and it's blue. Miami gets 2 yellow. Mumbai gets 2 black. Then we draw 3 more, and these get 1 each. So we've got Tehran gets 1, Essen gets 1 blue, and London gets 1 blue. Now hopefully you're going to shuffle better than I did. I didn't even get to pull a single red card out there. So you've got 9 cards in your discard to start with. And you've got 9 cities that have been infected at the beginning of the game. Now this is the setup. You're ready to go. And here's the order of play right here in the corner of the board. A reminder, it says do 4 actions. Those actions can be done in any order you want to, and you can repeatedly do the same action over and over again, right? So no limits on that. And then you draw 2 cards, that's off of this deck, and then you infect the cities, which is off of this deck, and you're going to flip over the number of cards for whatever the number is below this infection rate counter. So that's the order of play. You just decide who's going to start first. Let's say the dispatcher starts first, and the dispatcher got 2 yellow cards and a black card. Got Kinshasa, Sao Paulo, and Tehran. So the dispatcher does 4 actions. So what are the actions that the dispatcher can do? Well, you've got this reference card that's got 8 possible actions on it, a front and a back. The first 4 actions are all move actions. So it's different ways of moving around the board. So the first action is very simply to move from one city to another city connected by a line. So the purple, the dispatcher, starting in Atlanta, could say, well, I'm going to go to Chicago and then Montreal, then New York and London. 1, 2, 3, 4 actions, and then her actions would be done. The first step of her play would be done. That would be 4 actions. If she just did a drive or a ferry to 4 consecutive cities. The second choice is to discard a city card to move to the city named on the card. Well, remember we got Kinshasa, Sao Paulo, and Tehran. So let's say that the dispatcher wanted to go over here to the black, and so she could dispatch or fly to Tehran, and Tehran is black, so I could discard the black card, fly over here. That's 1 action. That's only 1 action. Takes you halfway across the board, but you lose a card by doing it. And you don't often want to just throw away cards, so cards are very valuable in this game. But that helps out to get you mobile, move you around the board. The third option for moving is charter flight, and you discard the city card that matches the city you are in to move to any city. So let's just say that the dispatcher happened to be over here in Tehran, or maybe even in Delhi next door to Tehran, and she has the Tehran card, so she could take 1 action to move to Tehran, and then she could discard the Tehran card and fly to anywhere on the board. Let's say flying to Lima. Okay, so that takes 1 action. The direct flight lets you discard a card to move to the city named on the card. So if I discard Tehran, I can fly to Tehran. The charter flight is if I'm in Tehran, I can discard Tehran to fly anywhere on the board. So a subtle difference there. You can go to the city that you have the card for, or you can be in the city that you have the card for and fly anywhere. And then the shuttle flight. And the shuttle flight lets you go from one research station to another. So eventually you'll have some other research stations out here. And so if I'm in Baghdad, I got a research station there, I could fly to Atlanta and only take 1 action to do that. So it's important to get some research stations out on the board early in the game. That helps your mobility to move around the board without discarding cards. Because once these research stations are there, they just stay there. The next option on the back, the first option, is to build a research station. And the way you do that is discard a city that matches the city you're in to build a research station. So once again, let's say I'm over here in the black area and I'm in Tehran. I could discard Tehran to put a research station in Tehran. Now I lose the card, but I gain a research station. So that's how you get research stations on the board. The second option on the back is to treat a disease. You remove 1 disease cube from the city you are in. So as an action, I could remove this 1 black cube from Tehran and then move over to Delhi. That's my second action. I could remove 2 more cubes. That would be my 4 actions. So 1 action per 1 cube. Now later in the game, once you've done some cures, let's say you've cured black, then whenever you take 1 action, you remove all cubes in the city once that color's virus has been cured. You remove all cubes with only 1 action. So it's very quick to pick up a lot of cubes very quickly if you've got a lot of them in the same city. Share knowledge is either give the card that matches the city you are in to another player, or take that card from another player. The other player must also be in the same city you are in. So let's say we've got the dispatcher and the medic both in Tehran. The medic or the dispatcher has the Tehran card, could give the Tehran card to the medic on the dispatcher's turn. It costs 1 action, or the medic on the medic's turn could take the card from the dispatcher for 1 action. So with this being a cooperative game, of course you want to get permission to do this, and you're going to discuss your strategy together. And the point of that is maybe one person has several black cards and they're short some black cards and they need some more. Or they want to fly to the city or something for some reason. They want this card. So it allows you to swap cards, but remember, you both have to be together. You both have to be in the city that you're trading the card, that city. You do not have to be in a research station. Okay, the fourth option on the back is to discover a cure. And you have to do that at a research station. And to do a cure, you have to discard 5 cards of the same color to discard that color's virus. So to cure black, you have to discard 5 black cards. One person has to discard 5. So that would be one of the reasons why you might want to share the knowledge by trading cards back and forth. Is if you have somebody with only 4 blacks and he needs 5, you need to find some way of getting that person a black card, so that they can, on their turn, at a research station, discard those 5 colors, those 5 cards. Now it doesn't matter what research station you're at. You could be in the red area to cure black. It doesn't matter, or you could cure yellow in the red area. Not a problem. So those are your 8 options for actions, and you want to look over this card several times while you're playing, especially for the first couple of games, to make sure you don't forget all your options. There are a lot of options here on what you can do, so you want to make sure you're not overlooking some of your possibilities. Once you've done the 4 actions, then you're going to draw 2 cards and put them in your hand. So these just flip up simultaneously. I had 3 cards. I'm going to go up, get a couple more cards. Let's say Tehran's still over here. You'll notice I drew an event card. I'll talk about events a little bit later. And those just go in the person's hand. And then once you've done the draw, then you're going to flip up, at this point, 2 infection cards, but it's based on the number underneath this counter. So I've got Riyadh, and it's a black card. And Riyadh is in the black section, and it's going to get 1 black cube. And Los Angeles is yellow. It's going to get 1 yellow cube. So when you do the infect cities step here, each of them gets 1 cube each by drawing the top card, or the top however many cards it says, and 1 cube each. So that's the basics of the game. Now a little bit of some adjustments to the rules that you don't know yet is, one of the things you can do is when you're playing is to play with your hand open on the board instead of up in your hand, so that you're not doing this to your other players. You're working together. So if they can see your cards, it helps with strategy between everybody on what to do. And you can say, hey, you've got 3 yellows. You need to get to 5. I've got a yellow. I'm not going to use this yellow. I'll see if let's get together and I can give you my yellow card, so that we can get yellow cured when somebody gets up to 5. So normally that's what we do, is play open-handed like that. You also have a 7-card hand limit. So if you ever go over 7, you have to discard down. Now that's regardless of whether you drew it out of the deck or if somebody handed you a card, or any reason why you get some other cards, you have to discard down to 7. Now these event cards, they count. Your roll does not count as part of your hand. It's simply all of the cards with these backs here. So if you draw, and you're drawing simultaneous, you're not drawing one at a time. So if you're at 7 and you draw 1 card, you don't discard and then draw your second card and discard. You flip up both cards, and then you see what you have, and then choose to discard down to 7. And those just go in your discard pile. Then events, There, remember, are about 5 of these event cards throughout the game. This is the airlift. The airlift lets you move another player or yourself to any city on the board. And that does not, events do not take actions to do. They can be done on your turn. They can be done on somebody else's turn. So there's no limit on that. And once you use it, it's a one-time use. It goes in the discard pile. So let's just take a look and see what other kind of event cards we can find in here. Here's one called One Quiet Night, and it skips the next INFECT city step. The INFECT city step is this step where you flip over these cards and infect cities. So if you played that on your turn, then you would skip the last step of your turn, the 3rd step where you infect cities, or another player, if you played it on another player's turn, then they wouldn't have to flip these cards up. So it stops the spread of the disease for that turn. And then there's other ones in there. I'll let you read those. The epidemic cards that are in here. Remember these green cards we put in there? We put 4 to start with. They tell you exactly what you do on the card itself. The step 1 is to increase. It's called increase, and all it simply does is move this marker 1 to the right. And so eventually you get to where you're flipping over more infection cards each turn. You're starting with 2, and you can get all the way up to where you're flipping 4 cards per turn. So the increase step moves that 1 to the right. The infect step, you're going to take the bottom card off this deck, flip it up, and you're going to put 3 cubes on that city based on the color of the card. So this is Chennai. Chennai gets 3 black cubes. And then this goes in the discard pile. And then the 3rd step, which is Intensify, you shuffle your discard pile for the infection deck, and then you put it back on top of the deck. So those cities that are infected and have been infected at the beginning of the game continue to become cities where the virus spreads. So these ones that are problems will be more problems. So that goes to the discard, and then somebody drew that on their second part of their turn, so then we go to infect cities, and then we flip up, and you find out that, oh, we had Essen on here, and we're going to put more on Essen, and we're going to put more on Tehran. So, and then these go in the discard. And every time you get these epidemic cards, these will come back on top of the deck and continue to be a problem. So that's how epidemics work. Outbreaks. An outbreak happens, you'll notice this outbreak track. Outbreak happens if you try to put a 4th cube of the same color on a city. So Algiers, you'll see, has 3 cubes on it. So if I would flip up the Algiers card during the infection city deck, infection city step, then I would try to put the 4th black cube on here, and you don't want to put 4 cubes on any city. What happens is called an outbreak. It moves this marker down 1 space, and then instead of putting the 4th one down, you put 1 on each city that's connected to the city that had an outbreak. So it spreads that disease to other cities. Now it doesn't matter what color the other cities are, they get the color of the cube that's being spread. So black is spreading, so even though Madrid and Paris are blue cities, they're going to get black cubes. So because of that, an outbreak doesn't happen until you get the 4th cube of the same color, or would get the 4th cube. So I could have, theoretically, I could have 3 blue cubes in Madrid and 1 black or 2 black cubes in there. And you only do the outbreak if you have 3 of one color, and then that one would get another cube. So that spreads. And then once you have 1 or maybe 2 or 3 cities next to each other that have 3 cubes or 2 cubes, you can move this outbreak marker down very quickly on the board, because one outbreak can cause another outbreak. So let's say Algiers has 3 and Madrid has 3, but those are different colors, so they're not going to build on each other. But let's put three in Istanbul and 3 in Algiers, and then 2 in Cairo. So Cairo is not really in danger, but I'm going to show you how this can spread very quickly. So let's say we drew the Algiers card off of here. That would cause an outbreak. We throw 1 cube in Madrid, 1 in Paris, 1 in Istanbul, and 1 in Cairo. Well, Istanbul, after we move this down here, Istanbul already had 3, so that would cause a 4th. So Algiers did an outbreak, and then Istanbul is going to do an outbreak. Now Madrid or Cairo is now up to 3 cubes because it got one from Algiers outbreak. So we're going to outbreak Istanbul, which puts 1 in Milan, 1 in Moscow, 1 in Baghdad, and 1 in Cairo, which now already had 3. It's not going to put 1 back in Algiers because Algiers caused Istanbul to outbreak, so they don't go back and forth on each other. But Cairo then would outbreak, and Cairo would put 1 in Khartoum and Riyadh and Baghdad. So you can have 3 outbreaks very fast and move this outbreak marker down very fast. That's how outbreaks work. Curing diseases, if you have a disease cured, so let's say red has been cured. Now we don't have any red on the board at this point, so if you ever cure a disease and there are no cubes of that color on the board, then you have what's called, you've eradicated the disease, and you flip that vial over to the circle with the slash. Anytime you do the cure, you slide that up to show that it's been cured. But when there are no cubes of that color on, that virus has been eradicated. And if you flip over a red card, then you don't put red cubes back on the board. So that's very nice, and you don't replace the card. So if you're flipping 2 cards at a time, one of them happens to be red, you don't get the red cubes, but you do get any of the other cubes. So it slows down the spread of the disease. You can then work on the other diseases that are on the board. And you do not have to eradicate to win this game. You only need to cure the 4. You don't need to eradicate all the diseases. Now the roles, I'll talk a little bit about that. Let's see what each of these has a different special ability, and if you can work together and feed on each other's special ability, that's really nice, especially if they work together and advantage each other. Now the medic, his special ability is for 1 action. He gets to remove all cubes from a city. So instead of removing them 1 at a time for an action, when he's treating those diseases, he would walk in there, the red one, would walk in there, and as 1 action, he could remove 3 cubes for 1 action. So you definitely want this guy running around to all the hot spots around the world and hitting those ones that have 2 or 3 cubes, and let other people hit the ones that have 1 cube maybe. That would at least be a strategy. He has another ability down there also, but I'll let you find that out later. The dispatcher can move another player's pawn as if it were yours. So this could work very nicely with the medic. If the dispatcher moved the medic on the dispatcher's turn, 2 hot spots around the board, then that would help the medic be more mobile and hit those spots that really needed to be hit, especially to stop outbreaks or prevent outbreaks from happening. And then the researcher, as an action you can give, or a player can take any city card from your hand. You must both be in the same city. The card does not have to match the city you're in. Remember that rule that you have to have the card that's in the city you are in to do the trade? Well, this one says for her ability does not have to be the city you're in. So you can be in any city, and then the researcher can give away the researcher's cards to another player, or another player can take cards from the researcher. And then there's the other rules. I'll let you find those out. But each of them, if you can get them to work together, is a definite advantage in playing this game if you can build on each other's roles and their special abilities. Now, you know how to win this game. You cure all 4 diseases. And to do that, you discard 5 of the color of the virus that you're curing. 5 cards. Now, there are several ways to lose this game. On the outbreak marker, if this outbreak marker ever goes down past the 7 to the 8, there is no 8 on the board. It's the skull and crossbones. You lost the game. You had too many outbreaks. Game over, you lose. You also can lose by running out of your draw deck. If you ever flip the last card up, somebody draws the last card, the game's over, you've lost. And then you also can lose by running out of cubes. There are 24 of each color of cube. There are 12 of that color city. But if you've put all of that color's cubes, I know they're pretty and they're very interesting, and man, look at that. That's a great yellow, or these are viruses, people, man, they're viruses. You want to get them off the board. So if you ever run out of those cubes on the board, that you put them all on the board, it's game over. Too many people have died. You've failed. So step up, cure these diseases, treat them, eradicate them if you can. But I hope you enjoy this game. Let me know what you think of this game. It's very highly rated on the Board Game Geek website, and there's a tremendous following, and it's definitely one of those games where you like to play it over and over again. So I hope you enjoy this game, and tune back in on the Board Game Network channel on YouTube.